Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Monza, a true cathedral of speed, unmatched around the world for its sense of history and passion, fueled in part by its long history and also the fanaticism of Italian fans, the Tifosi. With the steadily decaying remnants of the high-speed banking circuit providing a backdrop through the parkland trees, The atmosphere is not like any other. A mix of speed, melodrama, and more than a hint of melancholy, providing an epic circuit for round 4 of the iRacing Formula Renault 3.5 Championship here on Apex Racing TV. I'm Tim Cox. We've got John Robertson in the production booth, but right now, as always, I'm joined by Seb Bosher Williams. Seb, Monza, what can we say that hasn't been said before? Big straights, big braking zones, drama, slipstreams. It's got a bit of everything, really, and just invokes great racing.
Certainly does, Tim. Good evening to everybody at home joining us for Formula 3.5 Championship. I mean, you know, Monza, the Temple of Speed. I mean, you could say basically anything about it. It's such a good track and iconic. You know, it's been on the Formula 1 calendar. It seems to be in every major racing series calendar because it's just so historic, and it, as you said, provides such good racing. The long straights down into tricky, you know, full stop chicanes, you know, 90-degree chicanes mean that you can overtake and you can be strategic about when you let people by, try and get the cut back. It promotes really close racing, and that's exactly what we're going to see today. And maybe this might be the track where Eddie Samborski doesn't have the easy runaway that he has so far this season. Fuji, you know, he was already 2 seconds ahead of the field before lap 2, and I just hope that with the slipstream being so important here that we might get a really good race on our hands. Josh Stewart, actually, as we head into qualifying, set into a few purple sectors out on track, but Eddie Samborski, who you see on your screen at the moment, absolutely flying as always. Expect to see him somewhere, if not at the top of the timing stands when qualifying gets done and dusted. But Tim, we saw drivers last time out at Fuji get floor damage from the curbs, and we had a little bit of a glimpse of it through the Ascari chicane. The curbs here are super high. I kind of suspect that we might end up seeing more drivers picking up floor damage throughout the race.
So actually on Samborski, it's been a clean sweep so far this season. Qualifying just underway at the moment. Shikawa setting the initial pace there with a 1:35.2. Incredible lap from him, to be fair, and well, actually that's him done and dusted after 1 lap, so even more impressive. Of course, the drivers have 2 laps during this closed qualifying session to set the best possible time. First foot forward. And Samborski, look at that, only good enough for 5th. Not too sure what's going on there. It's been a clean sweep so far this season. Grand Chelem, a award given to a driver if they qualify on pole, lead every lap, have the fastest lap of the race, and take the victory. Well, so far, from 3 rounds, it's gone to Samborski every single time. Suzuka, Imola, Fuji. And we're going to see the same here again at Monza. Well, he's got his work cut out if he wants to do so. Halfway round here's 2nd lap. Shirakawa still holding on to that pole position for now. Josh Stewart joining him provisionally on the front row. His fellow countryman Jason Sieg. You see him just rounding out. Here's a lap time, taking that shortcut across near the pit entrance. What is he going to do? Is it going to be an improvement? Well, it's an improvement in time, 1:35.7. Not good enough to move him up. Dresho joins him on the 2nd row of the grid. Good lap from the Iberian. There is Samborski round the famous Parabolica final corner. What is he going to do? Well, there's a purple in sector 3, but greens are around, and I don't think it's going to be enough here to move him up onto the front row. So we're first time this season we're going to have a different pole sitter to Samborski. Oh, good enough for 5th, the 3rd row of the grid. Well, you said about it, Seb, and it looks like it's happening here in Monza. Somebody's going to be able to take the fight to Samborski, not the clean sweep that we've come to expect from him so far this season. As I mentioned, those previous 3 rounds, pole every time, fastest lap every time, led every lap and taken the victory. It's been a frightening display of dominance from the American. But we're not going to see it here today in Monza. Shirakawa going again, but I think it's not necessarily going to count. It's going to be interesting to see if he can improve on his time. Josh Stewart going again too. Morgan Keane just rounding out his final lap. Let's see what he does. Well, he's going to remain on 1:37.1 down in 15th place. Yet set times look at Ranchon Exposito, a new driver to the series, Jorge Lopez. He's good enough for second row. That's going to demote Sam Borski down to 6th place. Couldn't even see him start as far back as the 4th row of the grid. Well, there you go. Look for it. Ranchon, the Frenchman, popped into 3rd with a 1:35.5. Good enough for the second row. Yet set times as well. Daniel Gallis. Avolio, the Argentinian, a newcomer. Good to see him. It's always good to see new faces. Got 21 cars going to be taking to the grid today. Gwendolyn Old, yet to set a time. Well, actually, he's had all of his times to lead in, apologies, so not going to see anything from him. Likewise, Gallis. Avolio just coming around to complete his final lap. What is he going to do? Well, Green in sector 2, 3, and 4. No improvement in sector 1 as he cuts across the line. What is it going to be? Is it going to be a time? Well, yes, he's managed to get a time in 1:36.5 exactly. Good enough for 12th. 6th row of the grid for him. But wow. Seb, the big takeaway from this, Sam Borski starting from, well, not even the front row. 7th, the 4th row of the grid.
How the mighty have fallen. You're spot on there, Tim. He's taken the Grand Chelem from all of the rounds so far. The pole position, led every lap, fastest lap, and the race win. And he's not going to do that here. Starts 7th place. Shirakawa made a mistake on his second lap, so that's his first lap pace. He could have even gone quicker, but he didn't need to. He starts from pole position.
Yeah, exactly, and he's joined on the front row by Josh Stewart, a great qualifying from the Downforce Racing driver. Ludwig Ranchon, he's joined on the second row by Jorge Lopez, this Spaniard. Good to see a new driver, as mentioned earlier. Jason Sieg, he's on the 3rd row with Carlos Durescio, with Sam Borski down in 7th for the 4th row. Going to be disappointed by that one is the American Marcus Alacron. The Iberian joins him for company. Dennis Cornell and Cal Young, they're going to round out your top 10 in the 5th row of the grid. The 6th row, we've got Jamie Byrne and Pablo Ovidio, the new Argentinian driver. Shane Lambert and Valero Tavares make an all-American 7th row of the grid. James Byrne, he's in 15th. He's joined by Dylan Freckleton, with Shindoi and Morgan Keane rounding out your 9th row of the grid. Wolfgang Fischer, he's got Gwendolyn Old joining him on the 7th row of the grid, and Daniel Gallis, the only driver not to set a time in qualifying, going to round out your 21 car grid here in Monza. It's going to be a fast, furious race. Slipstream, so crucial. Just waiting on the last couple of drivers to take to the grid. Cal Young and Valia. There's a Young just popping on to the grid, and then we're going to be away here in Italy for 23 laps. Still got plenty of time, still got 20 seconds to pop in as the Argentine. You see that gap on the grid there on the left hand side. Well, there we go, he's on, and we get ready because here come the lights, and let's get ready to go racing in Formula Renault 3.5 at Monza for round 4, and we are away. Not the best to start there for Avolio. Dropping back, and what a start there from, it was Avolio, apologies. He did get a good getaway initially, but it's too wide, and wow, what a start from Stewart. Instantly taking control of the race. Shirakawa, he's down too because Ranchon's managed to get past as well. And now Shirakawa, he's under attack from Jason Sieg. But Josh Stewart make an absolute blinding start here at Monza off the grid. Took the whole shot into turn 1, up the inside. As out of the field stream through hard onto the brakes. Sam Borski still down in 7th, and there he is battling out with Marcus Alacron. Not getting the best of X's there. Out of the second chicane. Aranti della Roggia, Secunda Variante. Depends on which names you like to go by as we head through the Lesmos for the first time and then out through the Curva del Seraggio. And then the run down to Ascari. Everyone tucked up behind one another, but already Stewart's mounted 9/10 of a second worth of lead here at Monza as they bounce across the curbs and make sure they get the best possible exit. using all the track and some more there on the exit. We head down towards Parabolica, one long snake. Everyone's got away cleanly here. No casualties from this opening lap. But Seb, what a start from Stuart. And I get the feeling that we're going to see plenty of overtakes on the run down to Retafilio.
Oh, undoubtedly, it's going to be the hotbed of action. I mean, it was a great start from Josh Stewart in second place, but it was, more importantly, a poor start from Shirakawa. Just way too much wheel spin, the launch control not working as well as I think Shirakawa would have hoped it to do, and just didn't get away, was on the back foot into turn one, lost the position, and then on the exit, lost the second position to Renshon. So, disaster for Shirakawa. I mean, we've seen him be so quick in previous rounds. Imola comes to mind, but it's these little mistakes that sort of stop you from achieving that next level. Samborski as well, not really making up any positions on the opening lap. He's now up one from where he started. I think that was a move into turn one on this very lap, but Shirakawa in third, coming under pressure actually from Dreshko in fourth. Seagut dropped down to fifth. As we head through the two Lesmo corners, James Byrne and Jason Byrne racing side by side as we have slipstreaming now towards the Ascaris chicane. A brave move, a brave overtaking opportunity, but it is there if you want to do it. You just have to brave down the inside with those high curves, and that's James Byrne racing the number 13 car. That's still Dylan Freckleton getting involved in a scrap, but they're losing the back of Tavares. They need to sort of start playing a little bit more together, just work together, keep in that slipstream, because as soon as you lose that slipstream, Tim, your race is almost as good as over.
Freckleton and Keane swapping places left, right and centre, but Sieg currently under pressure from Samborski, who's pulled out of the slipstream, and this is looking like a move down into Retafilio, who's going to be the last of the late break as well as Samborski. Sieg just conceding it a little bit there, tucking in behind the American. But got to feel for Jorge Lopez, down 5 places into ninth in these opening couple of laps. Not the start that he would have wanted, the Spaniard. As you mentioned, Freckleton dropping a couple of places, did get a good start. He was up 2. Jamie Byrne, another big loser from those opening laps, down 5. Shane Lambert as well. Shindoi, those two down 7 and 4 places at the back of the field, respectively. Might have had a bit of contact somewhere on track, and that's why. But Stewart is steamrollering this one. 1.5 seconds the advantage out in front. But there we've got Ranchon. 1.2 seconds clearing some fresh air and out slipstream range of this gaggle of cars that's following, headed up by Dresho. Shirakawa right onto his tail. See coming in pressure there from Marcus Alarcon, having to go defensive into the braking zone, but I'm not sure this is going to be enough round the outside into Ascari. Marcus Alarcon says, hold my beer, watch this, and a great move from the Iberian there to head to that little group. And he needs to be careful because they're starting to drop off the back of the Dresho, Shirakawa and Samborski group. You just see in the foreground there, and it's all about the slipstream train around here, Seb, as you see Avolio just up another place. That's Jason Sieg dropping down another one, not having the best opening laps that he could have wanted here. But look, they're all fighting over the same inches of tarmac here. Shirakawa, Dresho, Samborski, they're going to go free wide into Retafilio. Hold tight, everyone. Here we go. Who's going to be the last of the late breakers? And a bit of a lock-up there. Samborski just about holding in. Shirakawa fighting it out, dueling it away with him. Dresho's dropped behind the pair of them. And we're going to see another free wide potentially as we head around Curva Grande down to De La Roccia. And they're having to go at it again. This is going to be close. This could all end in tears. Let's find out as they come onto the brakes. Samborski just smashes across the nose there. Shirakawa and says, this is my corner. You're not having it. I'm trying to take control of this group. And Shirakawa loses out, but Nets ends up in the same position, but needs to be careful because Dresho's right behind him. As I was saying, Seb, before we started kicking off, the slipstream train is so powerful around here, and if you fall out of the range, it really hampers your race, and you start to see these groups start to split up and gaps emerge.
It's exactly what happens at Monza. It's very NASCAR-esque in that sense. The slipstream, the draft is absolutely everything around here. It can be sort of worth, 9/10 to a second if you get it in the perfect spot. So it's so vital And I think that's why we're seeing sort of Stewart just lead at the moment. He's got that gap. He doesn't have to worry. He can drive his own race, and it's all on Ranchon in second to make that time up, and it just burns out your tyres. It's sort of a vicious cycle that starts when you lose the slipstream, as we see actually in Ranchon.
Wow. Stewart, you say about him, 2.7 seconds already the gap, as Argon getting a brilliant view there of the battle between Duresho and Shirakawa, who almost banged wheels there. Shirakawa runs it in deep, he locks up. This is going to leave him vulnerable now for Marcus Alacron. He's going to come straight onto the attack on the corner exit. Duresho pulling away already because of that mistake. So Alacron pulling away to that mistake from Shirakawa. Sorry, was Duresho? That is the move done, and this is that was a bit naughty there. Got a little bit tasty, and Sieg trying to make the attack there. Has to check up, and that's going to leave him vulnerable now because of Olio. He's on the attack, and he says, thank you very much. I'll have that place from you. And gets himself up into 7th. A great start from the Argentine. He's up 5 places already. Couldn't hope for a much better start. Sieg down 3. Also Lopez behind these guys. Currently in 9th. He's down 5 from where he started in 4th place. 2nd row of the grid. Can't convert that qualifying pace into race pace as these calculus 6 cars fighting over the same inches of tarmac. Again, Stewart pulling away, 3.2 seconds as the gap over Ranchon in 2nd, Samborski 3rd, Duresho 4th, Alacron 5th, Shirakawa, Avolio, Sieg, Lopez and Cal Young. They're going to round out your top 10 in this corner. Tavares, Byrne, Freckleton, Keane, Gallis, Fisher, Lambert, Old, and then Jamie Byrne in 20th, Shindoi still running, but he is nearly a half a lap down as well. Samborski catching Ranchon in an instant there, and almost Ranchon. I have to wonder, Seb, is he carrying a bit of damage? Because that was conceded very easy as Avolio on the attack. Shirakawa struggling with Retafilio. And we've had a bit of contact there. Something's happened. Lopez involved. I didn't quite think about it. Cal Young was the other driver caught up in that.
It was Cal Young, and I think Dennis Cornu as well was involved at some point during that incident. More contact! That's Samborski! Sorry, not Samborski, Shirakawa.
That's Shirakawa and Avolio banging wheels there on the run down to De La Roggio. And I'm sure there's going to be a bit of angst, and 2 drivers not very happy with one another after that contact. It seemed avoidable, but just getting a bit too close for comfort. And it all went wrong for the pair of them. They've both lost out big time. And Shirakawa, who started on the front row, he's down to 10th. He's got his work cut out if he wants to try and claim something back from this. Lap 6 out of 23 completed. And this is going to get tasty because they need to dig deep. So this is what happened on the run down to turn 1, Seb. And it all looks okay. There's Lopez in the number 8 car. And is it gonna... it happened behind him, and Lopez took evasive action.
Yeah, so incredible awareness there from Jorge. I don't think I've ever seen somebody so switched on as Jorge Lopez, just to realise that was going to happen, just to get out of the way. He definitely saved himself from any further damage. That's the number 3 car. And here we saw, and that's Alacron at the wheel of that number 3 car. Alacron was so, over the line, I think I'd have to call it, with his defensive manoeuvre on Shirakawa. So let's hope that Alacron's calmed down a little bit and he can race sort of more towards the acceptable end of the scale, because that late defensive manoeuvre could have so easily ended up in an almighty accident.
Well, they're having a go at it again here, Seb, down the run down to Ascari. Duresho coming under a world of pressure from the Iberian Marcus Alacron. Swarming all round. And apologies, that wasn't Ascari, that was De La Roggio as we head round the Lesmos. And now they open up the taps and head down underneath the bridge, which holds, of course, the fabled banked oval circuit that is also here at Monza, not used anymore. Part of the historic layout, which used to combine the oval and the road course back in the day. And then head out along the straight, out of Ascari, the run down to Parabolica, the site of GT last year in Endurance Championship. No, apologies, it was this year even. It was in GT World Challenge Europe when the cars had a tractor on the track, and they were having to manoeuvre their way around that. Bit of an interesting sight. Don't see any of that sort of shenanigans here, though, in iRacing. There's Duresho on the attack, and Ludovic Ranchon, after that cracking start, up into second, and seems to be dropping time left, right, and centre here. So he could even lose another place. And yes, he has. There you go. Marcus Alarcon taking it away from Ranchon. And I have to wonder, I mean, it doesn't look like there's anything apparent, Seb. I'm trying to have a good look at his car, but he's losing time hand over fist.
He really is. Just looking at his top speed, his fastest speed down that straight was 269 kilometers an hour. And if you compare that to Marcus Alarcon's, he had 287 kilometers an hour. And, you know, bear in mind a little bit of differences for, you know, slipstream and the good exit. That's a huge delta between the two cars. I don't think I've ever seen it as big in these Formula 3 cars. So either Ranchon is running more downforce, which I wouldn't really anticipate. It's a low...
Seb, if you just getting a good look at his rings, yeah, you can see
a lot more downforce. A lot more downforce. So I was going to say I'd be surprised if he was, because around here it tends to be a low downforce track. You tend to take as much rear wing and front wing off as you possibly can, be absolutely rapid in a straight line. As Sieg, I think, has had some form of issue. There he is. He's made contact with something, probably the wall, but Jason Sieg's race goes from bad to worse, and I have a feeling that is him retiring. What an absolute disastrous sight there for Jason Sieg.
Not what he would have hoped for. Had a cracking qualifying, did Sieg, but it's all gone wrong for him during the race. But here we go, the run down to turn one. Duresho versus Alarcon. There's Alarcon pulls, so Duresho pulls out to the inside, and that's the move done. For the
no, it's not.
Wow, it's not, is it? Bumbles across the curb there, Seb. And that allows Alarcon to come right back at him. Let's see in free cars. Duresho now ahead. There we go. He's got the move done after conceding it. But having to concede it. The run down to Rettifilio. Wow. Surprising, definitely. And we're talking about Ranchon. He's just caught up onto the back of these guys. You can see the clear difference there, where the rear wings of the two cars in front of him, Duresho and Alarcon, almost look like they have horns where there's the two end plates sticking up, whereas you don't have that on Ranchon's. And as you can tell that he's running the extra wing, aside from when you can see the definitive angles on him, and that's clearly worked for him very, very well in qualifying set, but in race trim, it's definitely not the setup to be on.
It's not the setup to be on at the moment. We can tell that by, you know, him losing, you know, places hand over fist, as you were saying, Tim. But I wonder if this is a little bit of a strategic idea. It's just to try and preserve the tyres and maybe hope that you've got more grip available to you at the end of the race to come back. I mean, he's going to have incredible drive through the Parabolica section, as you see on your screen at the moment. He's got such a mega run on Alarcon, but he's not really able to do anything with it, you know, especially with Alarcon in the slipstream of Dreshko. He can't utilize that, and by the end of the straight they're so far apart, even though that, you know, Ranchon must be carrying, you know, sort of 5-10 kilometers an hour quicker through the Parabolica section. But I wonder, is this a long play? Is it just keeping the tyres alive, keeping the car alive, and coming back at the end? Shirakawa under pressure from James Byrne. Shirakawa's not had a fun time throughout this race, up to 9th place, but under pressure from 10th, 11th, and Gallus in 13th as well, looking very much like he wants a piece of this action. To the inside looks the number 8 car. That's Jorge Lopez. Wants to get past Jamie Byrne and wants to have a crack at Shirakawa for himself, but he's going to have to wait at least a few more corners to get that opportunity. Oh, there's a big spin. That's Folio.
Oh,
and that's got damage.
That could be race ending for him as he falls down through the order. He'd had a cracking start as well for the Argentine, and I'm wondering whether he's come into contact with.
I think
it's Kornuoff.
I was just about to say to him, I think I saw another car at the bottom of the screen. I think that was Corny, so I'd be surprised if those two haven't had some form of contact. But we head back to Ludwig Ranchon and his sort of woes of the race so far is that I think he is quicker. I think he's able to drive faster than the two drivers ahead of him. But as soon as he gets to about this point of the lap, it just all goes wrong for him because this car just isn't capable of going quick enough, and he just loses all the time, and it's such a hopeless feeling from the car. A little bit of a defensive manoeuvre from Alarcon. Not quite sure why he needed to do that. I mean, there's no way that Ranchon's going to get past him at the moment, but I don't know, maybe just to entertain him.
Do you think it was more of trying to distract Duresho ahead of him? Because you can see that these two are definitely more in the fight than what Ranchon is. Ranchon's merely just holding on to their coattails right now. See Duresho just go defensive a bit there as Alarcon tries to find his way past. What a replay. So this is what happened to Avolio. So we come into Lesmo 1. He's all by himself. Is he going to lose it? Yeah, there you go. Just touches the gravel. And oh, no. That was so close to Cornu, who then has his own incident trying to take evasive action. It all goes wrong for the Frenchman through just being there at the wrong place at the wrong time.
It's very reminiscent of Lewis Hamilton's accident, I think in 2009 in Formula 1, although it took 2 cars to recreate it while Lewis managed to do it with just 1. But a very strange accident. I'm not quite sure, actually, if Avolio held his brakes through the full spin or whether he sort of lifted off and that caused the incident. You always like to see drivers completely hold their brakes, just stop the car, be predictable. That gives you the highest chance of not being hit and not hitting somebody else. I'm not quite sure if that happened, but once again, Ranchon so close to the back of Alarcon, but it's going to amass to nothing. But Alarcon is getting closer to Dreshko, and I think you might be right, Tim. I think you might be trying to sort of spook Dreshko out, and they're side by side as we head into the first chicane.
Well, it might even be a case of spooking him, because this looks like it's going to be the move done. Alarcon. Oh, and I tell you what, lucky with Ranchon, he's on the attack now. Well, he's able to carry, as you said earlier, that higher top speed through all of the corners, just that higher downforce setup. So we see Shirakawa trying to defend from James Byrne there. Got Jorge Lopez just in front, and of course these two have already made a bit of contact. So we're going to see history repeating himself. While all of this is going on, Daniel Gallis, he's made up 10 places. He's had a cracking little race up into 11th. You can just catch him in the background there. He's had a stunner. There is the Central European, and still in with a chance of catching up with this group, especially the more they keep fighting with one another, Seb.
Completely, and it's exactly what you need to do at a race like Monza, is just keep putting in the laps and hope that everybody around you starts to battle and sort of negate that offset that you get by not being in that slipstream train. What's interesting is Lopez was behind Burns and Shirakawa the last time we sort of looked at this battle. So Lopez has managed to get past not only James Byrne but also Yuki Shirakawa. So Lopez up to 7th, now the lead car in this train. And he's got Tavares in, what's the gap between those two? It's about 2 or so seconds. We have Dreshko and Alarcon round, 30 at this point? And wow, Dreshko made that look very simple. Got ahead of Alarcon before we've even hit the brakes. And what does Alarcon think about that? Oh, and that's so wide there from Ranchon. I think he had to get on the brakes to avoid an incident so close to running into the back of Alarcon, and I think that might have just put the final knife wound into Ranchon's race, because he's going to have to work so hard to catch up to that slipstream pack again.
So this is Jason C. He's into the pits, I think, this ever from the picture seeing right.
Yeah, I'm also seeing him in the pits. I think this is a replay of what caused Jason Sieg to get into, or what caused him to end up in the pits. We saw him wide at the Ascari chicane. As we head back towards our live pictures, Alarcon took 4th place, and Dreshko, he's playing it quite smart, to be honest, Tim. I was expecting, him just to sort of sit behind, sit behind Alarcon when Alarcon made it past a few laps ago, but Dreshko was like, no, I'm going to take this position back, and they're sort of almost working together to try and catch Samborski. It's working quite well for them, so yeah, some really smart driving going on in 3rd and 4th place at the moment.
So we're about to head out onto lap 14. Stewart leads from Samborski, Duresho 3rd, Alarcon 4th for now. Those two have been trading places all race long. New fastest lap of the race from Samborski, 136.4. Ratchet on 5th. Tavares, great drive from him up into 6th place. He's climbed 8 places. Jorge Lopez in 7th. Shirakawa 8th. He's had a race to forget. James Byrne 9th. He's up 6th. Likewise in 10th place is Dylan Frechtel. Daniel Gallus up 10 places. Started at the back of the grid. Didn't set a time in qualifying. He's into 11th place for now. There's Fisher, Keane, Lambert, Cornu, Old, Young, Byrne, Shindoi, Avolio, who's retired the car and like on lap 10, and Jason Seeger retired. Well, it's looking very much so. He's still in the pits, but that looks like a retirement. That was back on lap 8. There's your leader, Josh Stewart, the Australian. Absolutely flying is the man from down under. He's got a 2-second advantage over Samborski. That gap, though, is starting to shrink a little bit. Last time round, it shrunk by 2 tenths alone. It's going to be interesting when they cross the line. See how it's shrunk again. Gresham setting the new fastest lap out as everyone crossed the line. Great stuff from him. And you can see, Seb, from that graphic, just how Samborski's been chiseling away at Stewart's lead by a tenth or 2 every single lap across the last, well, fairly 3 of the last 5.
Samborski's actually been almost consistently quicker than Josh Stewart in the lead ever since Samborski made it up into 2nd place. And not only is he sort of chipping away at the gap between the two, but he's also sort of chipping away at Stewart's confidence. You know, Stewart can just see the gap closing little by little every lap, and that starts to sort of, that pressure builds mentally. You start focusing on your relative box a little bit more, you know, really, well, at least in my case, I start obsessing over like where the gaps are, and you start to sort of worry and get anxious, and you start to tense up, and that, of course, you know, means you drive slower. Again, it's a vicious circle. That's why we down the order. Talking of vicious cycles, Shirakawa's losing another place. This time, it's James Byrne getting past the Japanese driver, Shirakawa. The race goes from bad to worse for him. Started on pole, now down in 9th place. But Stewart, he just needs to calm. He needs to keep himself calm. And what I was thinking is, even if Samborski does manage to get ahead, there isn't too much of a pace differential between the two. So if Josh Stewart can just sort of stay in the slipstream, if Samborski indeed does get ahead, if he could just stay in the slipstream and mount a last lap attack, you know, Stewart could still win this. He just might need to be a little bit smarter than just being able just to win on outright pace.
It's the exit out of Ascari. Race down towards Parabolica. The gap is shrinking between 1st and 2nd. Last time around it was 3 tenths, exactly the difference between Stewart and Samborski in terms of lap time, as these two still scrapping over Alarcon at the moment. But with Alarcon right in slipstream range, this is going to change. Expect these seats to swap over places. And as much as Seb, it seemed like it was, you know, a great idea, slipstreaming off one another to catch up with Samborski in 2nd. That gap is, well, it actually grew on the last lap. It's currently at 4.7 seconds. And with some 7 laps remaining here at Monza, I don't see them catching them.
No, I think they're going to need some incident between Stewart and Samborski. Shirakawa trying to get past James Byrne. James Byrne defends around the outside, which becomes the inside for the second part of the first chicane. And Yuki Shirakawa really on the back foot once again. Yeah,
there's a change. So that's James Byrne. He's past Shirakawa down the start-finish straight. It gets bad to worse for the Japanese driver here in Italy.
Oh, there's somebody off in the background.
Tavares, one of the one people call up. Oh no, so he had that great start. He's going to lose a load of places now. There goes James Byrne. Here comes Shirakawa to come past on the inside and the entrance to Lesmo too. It's a compromised exit, but that's going to hurt the pair of them. As here comes Dylan Freckleton. He's in full attack mode now. Going to look to send it around the outside. No, that gap gets shut down. Freckleton moves to the inside into Ascari. Is he going to get the move done? No, he decides against it, backs out of it, but that's a compromised entrance for Tavares. Now he's going to be in trouble because that's going to amplify all the way the run down to Parabolica. But look at Daniel Gallus. He's in the background. He wants a piece of this pie. As they all move around, trying to find some space out on track. They all elect just to tuck in behind one another and then utilise that long run out of Parabolica all the way down to turn 1. Not quite as long as what we saw last time out of Fuji across the start-finish straight. That's as good as you're going to get for a second place in terms of straight length. And pulling out of the slipstream goes Gallus. He's got the move done over Freckleton. As you see in the foreground there, Tavares having a little bit of a look at the inside of Shirakawa, but this battle's not done and dusted as Freckleton comes back against Gallus and just has a big twitch and a big moment, and that secures 10th place for Gallus.
Freckleton just too trigger happy on the throttle on the exit of turn 1. And this is what happened to Tavares on number 19 car. What caused him to drop down the order. So he heads into the second chicane, takes quite a lot of curb. Okay, so what he's done there is felt the car start to lose grip over the curb and just simply hit the brakes to sort of arrest any sort of spin that might take place. It's sort of a defense mechanism that you can do, and you know, some might say that he could have survived if he had just sort of tried to play around with the, you know, with the steering and the throttle, but I think it's better to be safe than sorry. Dylan Freckleton though has some damage to one of his side pods, the driver's left side pod, I think, Tim. So Freckleton carrying damage. That's going to be so disastrous around this track.
Yes, indeed, and Tavares, he's going to be frustrated by his. Another from Illinois. Well, he's going to be Illinoised by that one. Sorry, I know it's late, Seb, but you can't escape a good pun when it's presented to you. As he's tucked up it right behind Shirakawa. She's going to help him defend from Gallus, who's tucked up right behind Tavares. This is the battle for 8th place right now. Shirakawa could lose 1 place. He could even lose 2. Down to turn 1 as Tavares pulls out of the slipstream. Gallus tucks back in again, but he knows these two are going to be compromised. As Shirakawa has not had the best of times into Resophilia this time, but I tell you what, look at the time Gallus has lost, where he just backed out of it and went defensive. But these two still side by side as they head round Curva Grande, down to De La Roggia, and onto the brakes. But it looks like Tavares is going to get it done around the outside, but Shirakawa tries to fight back, squeezes his car in where Tavares really doesn't want it. It's going to bring Gallus right back into play now. We head down towards Lesmo 1. Gallus has a little look up the inside of Shirakawa, thinks twice about it, tucks back in once again, that number 14 car. Tavares rubbing his hands with glee. If he could take his hands off the steering wheel to see in his mirrors, those two scrapping it out, but Shirakawa can be straight back out of him. This is not done and dusted. So we head down towards the Scari, underneath the bridge. Shirakawa heads up the inside. Can he squeeze it in? No, he can't. He has to back out of it. That's going to back him straight into Gallus, as these two are going to scrap out once again. And Shirakawa playing ping pong right now between Tavares and Gallus, as he can't seem to find a gap and a way past the American in front of him. But surely this has got to be it now on the run down to turn 1. Retafilio, right on board right now with Gallus. He's going to have front row seats for this battle all the way down the start-finish straight. And who is going to come up on top? Lap 19 out of 23. Gallus backs out of it. Shirakawa, is he going to have a look? No, he's going to sit behind. Bit of a strange one, Seb. Do you think maybe even potentially saving it up towards the last lap to get the move done? I mean, let's not forget the drivers do have 8 available DRSs for them. I wonder where Shirakawa has been in the whole world of pain. Has burned through them all already.
I'm not quite sure there, to be honest. I'm with you on that. It's not necessarily as straightforward as I think it could have been. I think Gallus there just playing it safe. I think Shirakawa as well, not really wanting to sort of being involved in any sort of scraps. Talking of a scrap, Sam Borski and Stewart, that is certainly within the 1 second slipstream range. And now we haven't really seen Sam Borski do much overtaking this season so far. He hasn't needed to. He's been in the lead for every race, for every lap, but now this is when it comes down to it. And we know Sam Borski is such an incredible driver. I have no doubt in my mind he's good at overtaking, but he's going to need to put it all on the line if he wants the race win around Monza.
Well, you know full well Stewart is going to defend this one incredibly hard. These two friends off the track. That doesn't count for anything when you're racing hard. And ooh, a little bit of a twitch there from Sam Borski, just compromising his exit. Not going to worry about that. Lap 20 out of 23. Still plenty of time left on the table. Samborski, the first driver to dip into the 1-minute 35s in the racing conditions, 1:35.8 last time around from him. Stewart, nearly half a second, well, in fact, actually half a second exactly slower than Samborski on the last lap alone. Well, that's going to contribute, though, to the Samborski being in slipstream range and to close up that gap to Stewart much easier. Also got Alacron and Dresho still battling out. You'll get a glimpse of them in the background, fighting away as they have been basically the race long, the two Iberians over that last place on the podium. But where is Samborski going to do it? It's like a cheetah stalking his prey right now. And Stewart, just the innocent gazelle, lonely, vulnerable to the American. Is he going to find a way to defend this one and escape the clutches? Well, we're not going to have long to find out, because here we go, winding the car up out of Parabolica. Any DRS left, they're going to be using right now. Bit hard to tell with these shallower wings. It doesn't look like either of them are using it, but Samborski, he's going to get the move done. Probably even before the braking zone. There you go. That is your new leader, Eddie Samborski. Ooh, locks it up, but that's going to allow Stewart to come straight back at him. The Downforce Racing driver now in full attack mode. He wants that lead back from Samborski. He's led every lap. He wants the victory. He wants to be our first different victor other than Samborski this season, as there is Ranchon. A complete world of his own right now. Of course, that setup, really high downforce, really not helping him. I think he might be regretting that one. So something's happened to him on the run down to Rettifilio. Turn 1, let's find out, Seb, what's happened to the Frenchman. Oh, he's run it in too deep. And, ooh, just about managed to save it to prevent the slowdown.
I think I'd have rather the slowdown than clattering over the curbs. These cars are so fragile. I wouldn't want to risk any form of damage. I'd have just blown straight through and taken the slowdown. But what can Josh Stewart do in response to Samborski? Samborski, so much speed, but what I was thinking is Stewart, he's been out in the lead for the race. He hasn't had to use any DRSs. He hasn't raced anybody. Well, Samborski has. He's been battling. He's had to make his way up from 7th where he started. So Stewart, in theory, would have a DRS advantage as we head round the Parabolica, and we're now going to see that in action. Can Josh Stewart retake the lead over Samborski? Samborski weaving, and it's going to be an almighty race. But actually, it looks like it's Samborski with the DRS open, and Stewart that doesn't have the DRS. Yeah, it was. So Samborski choosing to use the DRS, Stewart deciding not to.
So we don't know exactly how many of they've used of the 8 available DRSs. It might be that Stewart was using his early on just to build up that lead. Impressive lead that he had amalgamated early on. Still within touching distance though, half a second between himself and Samborski. The battle between Drescher and Alacron still going on, but they have got a bit of a gap between them now. 1.4 seconds between those two battling out over third. Ranchon still in a world of his own. Well, I thought he was, but there you go. Lopez getting the move done easily, but Ranchon displays him there. An alright little ding-dong. It's underneath the oval they go yet again. 22, the penultimate lap. And what is Stewart going to do to answer his critics and find a way past Samborski? Samborski's going to get the slipstream off of a back marker. That is Shindoi. They're coming up onto the back of the Japanese driver. That's going to help him defend this into turn 1. Wind in and out through the Parabolica for the penultimate time here at Monza in Formula Renault 3.5. Here we go. Last lap. White flag flies here in Italy. And this is what it comes down to. The prime overtaking opportunity can't be utilised by Stewart as they come through Rettifilio. Has he got an answer?
Why is my Samborski?
There we go. I was about to say, has he got an answer up his sleeve? Well, he might not necessarily need to. A big twitch there from Samborski, just compromising his exit. And Stewart is closing in hard as they head down to Della Roggia onto the brakes. We're going to see a lock-up, no immaculate driving from two of the top Formula Renault 3.5 drivers on the iRacing service. A bit of a kick up on the grass there from Sambolski, was trying to open up the corner entry round Lesmo 1 into Lesmo 2. Flinging it out using all of the track and some more. Out onto the AstroTurf goes Stewart as he's trying desperately to find a way past Sambolski. But I'm not even sure this is going to be enough. Sambolski goes defensive, then dips back onto the racing line, onto the brakes, into Ascari. The left, the right, the left, and out onto the back straight. The race down to Parabolica, but this could be done and dusted. Only 3 attempts. Stewart is sucked up right into slipstream range, but I'm not sure he's going to be able to get the move done. It's down to a quarter of a second. Here we go, round Parabolica for the final time in round 4 at Monza, but it looks like Sambolski's just about done enough here as he cuts across the white lines there, and he's going to take the checker flag for his 4th victory of the season. Goes to Eddie Sambolski. Stewart in second. Duresho is going to hold on to that last podium place, fighting off the advances of a race-long battle pretty much with Marcus Alcron. Varanchon is going to finish up in third, with Lopez closing in behind him. Gallus has made up a place past Tavares on the final lap. Great run from him. Well, this actually, maybe not, because it's not done. This is going to go right to the line as they scream all the way up to it. Tavares, I think he's just going to be ahead. Yes, he is. He nabs the place away from Gallus, who still finishes up an incredible 12 places. 100th of a second. Not tenths. 100th of a second is all that separated those two at the line. I'll tell you what, Fischer, Wolfgang Fischer, he's had a quiet race. We've hardly mentioned him. Squeezing inside the top 10, up 9 places in the end. 3 tenths behind the pair of them. So this is what happened to Lopez in his battle with Ranchon. So we're heading down towards De La Roggia, and there we go, up the inside. Looks all clean, gets the move done, but Ranchon fights back again and squeezes him out wide into the gravel, Seb.
Never really see 2 cars successfully going through the second chicane at Monza. Very difficult. You know, we've seen many incidents in every racing series conceivable there. And have a look. So this is Tavares and this is Daniel Gallus. So Tavares actually coming from behind to overtake Gallus. He's going to choose the wide line through Parabolica, compromise the entrance speed to get the best run out you possibly can, and foot absolutely to the floor. Does he have a does he have any DRS uses left? Actually, it's Gallus on the DRS instead, but Tavares still manages just to beat out Gallus, and Gallus must be absolutely gutted after that. He was, you know, he thought he was home and dry, and Tavares just switching on his racing brain and coming back to finishing ahead of him.
Seb, I think something's happened on the exit of Ascari, because Gallus seemed to have a really compromised exit. Seeing a replay of... Oh, that's Shirakawa.
And that's what happened to Gallus.
That's why he was out wide. I mean, these cars are robust, but the fact he's had a major accident there, spinning, and then smacking the barrier, the fact that that front nose is even still on the car, let alone the front wing, and only to be bent like that, that's pretty much a miraculous and great, well, story of how strong these cars are. But let's take you through your classified results here from round 4 at Monza, the iRacing Formula Renault 3.5 Championship. Sambolski making it 4 wins from 4 so far this season. Great start to the season for him. Josh Stewart, he picks up his 3rd podium of the season, equaling his best result, which came at, wow, of course, Imola. Something about Italy for the Australian. 2 second places there. Of course, that's Suzuka, round 1. Picks up a 3rd place there. Then we've got Carlos Duresho. Great drive from him. That's his first time on the podium this season. After his race-long battle with Marcus Alcron, has set for 4th in the end. Little Ranchon set up, compromising him in the end. 5th place for him. Jorge Lopez. Great drive from him in the end to come home 6th. Newcomer to the series. Great to see that. Obviously, he did start in 4th place, but even so, to finish out in 6th, I think he'll take that one too. Hans James Byrne up 8 places into 7th. Tavares into 8th. He's climbed 6th. Daniel Gallis, your biggest riser here today, 9th in the end, up an incredible 12 places. Wolfgang Fischer, he's going to round out your top 10. He was up 9 himself. Amazing stuff. Then Morgan Keane just missing out on the top 10. He climbed 7 into 11th. Dylan Freckleton, well, not the best of races for him compared to others around him, but still up 4 into 12th. Yuki Shirakawa started on the front row, and he'll definitely be looking forward to forgetting about this one. The Success Esports driver, 13th is where he finished. Dennis Cornu, 14th. Lambert, 15th. Old, 16th. And then we've got Cal Young in 17th. James Byrne in 18th. Last driver to finish on the lead lap because one lap down was Shindoi. And then our 2 retirements. Volio, we lost on lap 10. And Jason Sieg, we lost on lap 8. But let's have a bit of a chat too. I will speak first to our race victor with his 4th win of the season. But no pole position this time, Eddie Samborski, and not leading every single lap. What happened? Let's start off with qualifying. What happened there? The fourth row of the grid.
I know what happened. Everyone's going to think I'm dumb, but you know, it's kind of like Spa where you can run a certain downforce package, and I straight up don't really think you should be able to do it here. So I know what everyone did, and no one cheated, no one did anything out of the ordinary. I just refused to do it. So that's why last week I was telling the guys I don't think I'll be on pole. I think everyone kind of understands why now. I'm not saying the series needs any changes or needs any Parc Fermé rules. I just, you know, you go to Monza, you really shouldn't be putting barn door wings on. That's all I'm saying, you know. So I knew I was in for, and I set the car up for it, and it worked out in the end.
Well, it did indeed. The purist within you electing to utilize your race style setup in terms of downforce levels there. Maximum respect to you, but I mean, even so, it wasn't plain sailing. I mean, Josh Stewart, he built up a cracking lead to start off with, and you know, he didn't make it easy for you to catch him and then pass him. I mean, he fought you pretty much all the way to the line.
Oh, absolutely. He had every right to, too. I would have for the win. When I when I made it onto his draft, I knew I was like, all right, I can take a breather here. So I took a lap off. I got the car calmed down. You could probably tell. I was lifting and coasting. I got everything where I wanted it. And then I was timing the run. It probably didn't look like much when you're watching. You're probably just thinking, why is he not, going for the move? But around here, if you don't pass at a certain time, you make it very difficult for yourself. So I was trying, I was at 5 to go. I caught the back of him, so I had a lap of cooldown. So I had 4 laps. I was like, man, you got to time this just right, because I knew what I had for DRSs and everything else. And luckily for me, we had no calamities. I almost wrecked the car a few times into turn 1 in front of him. You could probably see me sliding a bit more than probably what you're used to, but it worked out, and it's very tough to learn how to follow in 2 laps. So I knew if I could just get in front of him, I could more than likely, with 2 to go, I could more than likely hang on to the lead. And luckily for me, it worked out.
Talking about you saying about the car sliding around, just watching you sliding it around Ascari right now on the stream. Now, we've obviously flip-flopped between Japan and Italy for the first 4 rounds. Next time out, it's your home round, arguably, the only round in North America. It's Watkins Glen, one of my favourite circuits. I mean, surely there can't be anything sweeter than a home victory.
Well, I'll tell you what, Watkins Glen is, with the repave, it's very fun, it's very fast, and it's going to be very similar to this week. I mean, I know there was field spread today, but I think, the top 5 guys ought to be all about the same pace. It's huge draft advantage up the straightaway. So, I mean, we'll see.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not telling you pole's a good idea, but I mean, I don't know. Starting 3rd might be the way to go, and we'll see.
Well, yeah, we'll definitely find out in a week's time. We look forward to seeing you then. That's Adi Samborski with a victory here today, round 4 at Monza. Now, Seb, I understand you're standing by, ready to have a chat with our 2nd place finisher, 3rd time on the podium this season, Josh Stewart.
I am, certainly. Tim, good evening. Joshua, good morning. Joshua, I should say, you were so close to your first win this season, but you were just 2 laps short. Are you disappointed, or are you still pretty happy with the result in the end?
Hey Seb, hey Tim. Look, to be honest, I'm pretty disappointed. I mean, P2 is a great result, especially at Monza. So much can happen in that first corner and the first laps. So I'm glad I managed to survive all that. But yeah, disappointing that a couple laps short of a win, especially here. That would have been a great thing. But I'll take the P2. Eddie had great pace all race. I could see him chipping away at my time. And I was just concentrating on just being smooth because it's really easy to lock a wheel and lose a big bunch of time. So I was making sure to be smooth, not overdrive, but it just wasn't quite enough, unfortunately.
Yeah, we saw, with about 3 laps to go, you lost the lead. Was your plan, did you think that you could get the lead back, or did you sort of accept that once Eddie managed to get past you, that was sort of your race over for the win, and you had to sort of consolidate second?
Well, the gap behind us was probably 6 or 7 seconds, so I knew I had a chance to fight a little bit and not jeopardize P2. But I did know, Eddie was running less downforce than me, so it just meant that he had a bit more straight line, and he managed to save a few more DRS than me at the end. And there was a couple laps there, actually the last 2 laps when he got past me, he was able to use DRS on the straight, and after the first chicane, he popped DRS as well, and then I think on the last lap, maybe DRS on the back straight. So he had enough to keep me behind, but I was just trying to remind him that I was there, and hopefully, maybe he, as I said, it's easy to make a mistake, easy to lose the car with the medium downforce at any point in the track. So yeah, look, I wasn't going to do anything silly to try and compromise a podium, but at the same time, yeah, I wanted to try and force that mistake there. And it was a couple, actually, he did make a few little errors, maybe a little bit deep, at least in comparison to his earlier laps. So, but it wasn't to be. So, I'll still happy with the P2.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good result, but it's always, when it's so close, you always want to go one better and end up on the top step of the podium. But, you had a good qualifying. Eddie Samborski was talking about, different drivers maybe using different setups for their qualifying and then the race, and that's why that he was sort of lower down the field. But do you feel like your qualifying went as well as you could? Were you upset that you didn't manage to get the pole?
Look, my lap was decent. If I put it all together, it would have been for pole, but I only put in my first lap, and my second lap I was already 2/10 down out of the first chicane, so I didn't bother. But yeah, Eddie's right. Like it's pretty ridiculous that at Monza the fastest qualifying setup is a high downforce setup, but I figured I would go that route just to not end up in the middle of the pack where anything can happen. So it does make everything else twice as hard. You got to practice twice as much because the braking points are so different from high downforce to medium. And then the transition from qualifying to race is quite tricky on those first few laps. But, it kept me out of trouble for those first few laps. So that's always a good thing. But hopefully iRacing fixes our downforce problem, because it's, yeah, I mean, that shouldn't be the fastest way around Monza, should it? A high downforce setup. So, but anyway, yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, that's quite surprising to hear. Actually, some drivers, it looked like, sort of ended up with a high downforce setup for the race as well, and it didn't quite work out as well for them in the race. But
yeah, without unlimited DRS, it doesn't quite work. So.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. Well, thank you very much for explaining that for us and the viewers as well. Super interesting to hear your side. I'm sorry that you couldn't quite get the win, but a great race from your side. And before we let you go and celebrate your second place, or commiserate on not getting the win, is anybody like to give it a shout out to at all on the broadcast?
Yeah, big thanks to the team Downforce Racing, Miguel, and especially Jason this week. Really helped out with setup. Big thanks to Morgan Keane. He contributed a lot to get the broadcast up this season. So big thanks to him. Thanks to you guys, Seb, Tim. The broadcast is great. It's really stepped up, I think. over the last few seasons. So thanks for that. And yeah, party on. I'll catch you next week.
Well, that sounds good. And yeah, we head to Watkins Glen in 1 week time, and sure, we'll look forward to seeing you there. But in the meantime, have a good rest of your week.
Thanks, man.
Wow, Tim, what a race that was. I mean, just so intriguing, especially intriguing to hear the different qualifying and race setups and all of the work these drivers are going into. It just proves like that we are at the elite of the elite when it comes to Formula 3.5 drivers.
I think it's not even just for me, Formula Renault 3.5. I think it's across the whole of iRacing's incredibly dedicated, hardworking community, and wow, one that's pushing the boundaries of the car of machinery available to them. And I mean, if you want to try and improve yourself, you can check out Apex Racing Academy with they have 29 data packs, setups, track guides, integration with virtual racing school. But they do also have weekly group coaching sessions with the Apex Racing team drivers who are absolutely electric, highly competitive at the top of their game. Great results from in the Watkins Glen 6 hour recently. Of course, those who regularly watch PESC will see Kevin S. Jr. and Jamie Fluke with them. John Robertson, our producer today, iRacing World Rallycross Champion 2. So make sure you head across to them if you're looking to up your game and check out them for more information. But what can we say? It wasn't the clean sweep that we've had from Sam Borski. He didn't get pole. He started from the 4th row of the grid. But even so, was managed to pick through and to pick up his 4th win from 4 rounds so far this season. As we heard from Josh Stewart, he's going to be gutted, but you know full well the man from Down Under will come back fighting. And until we have a bit of a change from our alternations between Japan and Italy for the first 4 rounds, we head to North America. And we'll be seeing you in a week's time live on Apex Racing TV when iRacing Formula Renault 3.5 Championship returns from the mighty Watkins Glen.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.